My dad said, "It's too busy this year. Let's skip the lake house." I said okay. Then I saw a video. My brother, his ex-wife, the neighbor's kids, all at the barbecue. My kids cried. So I snapped a photo of every unwrapped gift, texted, returning these. 40 minutes later, my dad was at my door, yelling. I opened and, "Open it, buddy," my dad said, fake cheer in his voice as he slid the white apple box across the table toward my son, Max. Everyone in the living room froze. Eyes locked on the box like it held the secret to the universe. Max's face lit up, his fingers trembling as he tore off the wrapping paper. "Is it really an iPhone?" he whispered, voice shaky with hope. "Open it and see," my dad said, sipping his coffee with a smug smirk. I should have known. God, I should have known. Max lifted the lid, and his whole face fell. Inside the pristine white box was a rock. Just a jagged, dirty rock. It looked like it had been scooped out of a construction site. "Is this a joke?" Max asked, blinking. My dad laughed, loud, like it was the funniest thing in the world. "Well," he said, "only good boys get toys. Isn't that right, Max?" There was a second of dead silence. Then laughter erupted. My sister doubled over, dabbing her eyes. My brother-in-law snorted into his drink. Even my mom chuckled. I didn't laugh. Max didn't either. He just stared at the rock, his cheeks flushing. Then he looked at me, confused, embarrassed, hurt. He didn't say anything, just bit his lip and shoved the box away. I recognized that look. I used to wear it myself, sitting across the same table. The sting of being the punchline. The humiliation dressed up as a lesson. My dad leaned back in his chair. "Come on, it's just a bit of fun. Lighten up." "Yeah," my sister said, still grinning. "It's not like that's his real present." Except it was. I knew it. My dad knew it. That was the whole point. A performance. A reminder of who held the power in the room. "Wow," I said quietly. "You really outdid yourself." Dad shrugged. "Maybe next year he'll learn some respect. Then we'll see about the iPhone." That was it. The moment something snapped inside me. Max sat there, head down, trying not to cry. I looked around the room, the same room where I'd been humiliated over and over again, and saw smug faces hiding behind wine glasses. They thought it was funny. Just another family joke. They didn't know what was coming. I stood up. "You know," I said, slow and steady, "you've spent your whole life convincing people you're the strong one, the backbone of this family. But you're not. You're just a coward in a cardigan." The room went quiet. Mom's eyes widened. My sister choked on her wine. Dad squinted at me like I was being dramatic. "Watch your mouth," he warned. "No. You watch yours," I said, stepping closer. "You just humiliated my son." "For what? A cheap laugh? A moment of control?" "I was joking, for God's sake." "You weren't joking. You were performing, like you always do. You find someone weaker, someone younger, and crush them, just so you can feel big." Max gripped the side of his chair, his little knuckles white. "You all saw it," I said, turning to the others. "Every single one of you. And you laughed." Nobody said a word. I smiled, but it wasn't nice. "You want to know what's really funny?" I said. "I actually bought him an iPhone. The real one. It's in the car. I was going to let Dad hand it over. Thought maybe, just maybe, he'd act like a grandfather." I turned to my sister. "But you laughed. Emily, you're a therapist. You should have known better." My brother-in-law shifted in his seat. My mom looked like she wanted to say something, but stopped. "It's Max's birthday," she finally whispered. "Exactly," I snapped. "And you all ruined it." I walked out of the house without my coat, got the real gift from the car, and came back in. Everyone was still frozen in place. I handed the phone to Max. "This is for you. From me. Because you were a good boy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His voice cracked when he said, "Thanks, Dad." And that was it. The show was over. Now it was my turn. "Open it, buddy," my dad said, fake cheer in his voice as he slid the white apple box across the table toward my son, Max. Everyone in the living room froze. Eyes locked on the box like it held the secret to the universe. Max's face lit up, his fingers trembling as he tore off the wrapping paper. "Is it really an iPhone?" he whispered, voice shaky with hope. "Open it and see," my dad said, sipping his coffee with a smug smirk. I should have known. God, I should have known. Max lifted the lid, and his whole face fell. Inside the pristine white box was a rock. Just a jagged, dirty rock. It looked like it had been scooped out of a construction site. "Is this a joke?" Max asked, blinking. My dad laughed, loud, like it was the funniest thing in the world. "Well," he said, "only good boys get toys. Isn't that right, Max?" There was a second of dead silence. Then laughter erupted. My sister doubled over, dabbing her eyes. My brother-in-law snorted into his drink. Even my mom chuckled. I didn't laugh. Max didn't either. He just stared at the rock, his cheeks flushing. Then he looked at me, confused, embarrassed, hurt. He didn't say anything, just bit his lip and shoved the box away. I recognized that look. I used to wear it myself, sitting across the same table. The sting of being the punchline. The humiliation dressed up as a lesson. My dad leaned back in his chair. "Come on. It's just a bit of fun. Lighten up." "Yeah," my sister said, still grinning. "It's not like that's his real present." Except it was. I knew it. My dad knew it. That was the whole point. A performance. A reminder of who held the power in the room. "Wow," I said quietly. "You really outdid yourself." Dad shrugged. "Maybe next year he'll learn some respect. Then we'll see about the iPhone." That was it. The moment something snapped inside me. Max sat there, head down, trying not to cry. I looked around the room, the same room where I'd been humiliated over and over again, and saw smug faces hiding behind wine glasses. They thought it was funny. Just another family joke. They didn't know what was coming. I stood up. You know, I said, slow and steady. You've spent your whole life convincing people you're the strong one, the backbone of this family. But you're not. You're just a coward in a cardigan. The room went quiet. Mom's eyes widened. My sister choked on her wine. Dad squinted at me like I was being dramatic. Watch your mouth, he warned. No, you watch yours, I said, stepping closer. You just humiliated my son. For what? A cheap laugh? A moment of control? I was joking, for God's sake. You weren't joking. You were performing, like you always do. You find someone weaker, someone younger, and crush them, just so you can feel big. Max gripped the side of his chair, his little knuckles white. You all saw it, I said, turning to the others. Every single one of you. And you laughed. Nobody said a word. I smiled, but it wasn't nice. You want to know what's really funny? I said. I actually bought him an iPhone. The real one. It's in the car. I was going to let Dad hand it over. Thought maybe, just maybe, he'd act like a grandfather. I turned to my sister. But you laughed, Emily. You're a therapist. You should have known better. My brother-in-law shifted in his seat. My mom looked like she wanted to say something, but stopped. It's Max's birthday, she finally whispered. Exactly, I snapped. And you all ruined it. I walked out of the house without my coat, got the real gift from the car, and came back in. Everyone was still frozen in place. I handed the phone to Max. This is for you. From me. Because you were a good boy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. His voice cracked when he said, Thanks, Dad. And that was it. The show was over. Now it was my turn. That night, after I tucked Max into bed, I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand, just staring at it. The silence in the house felt unnatural. Too quiet after what had happened. Too calm after everything I'd said. I expected the fallout to come fast. It did. The next morning, I woke up to a notification storm. 17 missed calls. A dozen voicemails. My sister, my mom, even my brother-in-law tried calling. My dad didn't. Not once. Of course he didn't. By noon, I got the one that mattered. An email from the fraud department. Subject line, Investigation initiated. Max Turner Identity Theft Report. I opened it slowly, holding my breath. They had flagged 3 open accounts in Max's name. One was active. One had gone to collections. The last had a suspicious pattern of recent activity. By 3 p.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Turner, a woman's voice said. This is Detective Amanda Ross, Financial Crimes Division. We'd like to schedule a formal statement regarding the identity theft of your son. Boom. That was it. It was real now. They thought I'd cool off, that I'd rant, blow up, then slide back into my old role. The peacemaker, the doormat, the one who writes the check and swallows the insult. Not this time. I wasn't swallowing anything. I was turning it all into ammunition. Within 2 days, I had filed a police report, compiled every document I had, bank statements showing withdrawals, emails from Emily's account, even video footage from Max's birthday party. That video said it all. A grown man, laughing at a child as he opened a rock in front of a living room full of people. They laughed at a child. They stole from him. And now, they were going to court. The family silence lasted about a week. No texts, no calls. Then Mom broke first. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was frantic. Honey, please, let's not drag this into the courts. We're family. We can fix this internally. Your father's not well. Emily's a mess. Just come over. Let's talk. I didn't finish the message. That Sunday, a formal letter arrived, postmarked, stamped, official, from the law office of Richard Knowles, attorney at law, to Daniel Turner. Notice of intent to sue for defamation of character. I had to laugh. I handed it to my lawyer that afternoon. She flipped through it with a smirk. They're bluffing, she said. Let them try. We have enough evidence to crush them in open court. And crush was exactly what I wanted. The trial date was set for mid-June. Civil court. Charges. Fraud. Identity theft. Misuse of a minor's personal information. But it wasn't just about justice anymore. I wanted the truth on record. Public. Permanent. No more hiding behind birthday banners and matching wine glasses. No more pretending. The first court day was packed. Emily looked like a ghost. Pale. Shaking. No makeup for once. Her hair tied back like she was trying to disappear. Dad showed up in a blazer and khakis, trying to look like the reasonable one. His face was calm, too calm. He always did that. Tried to control the narrative with a look. Like if he seemed calm, people would think I was the crazy one. Mom wore sunglasses indoors. Classic move. Drama queen shielding herself from reality. Their lawyer started his speech with a smile. Mr. Turner, he said, don't you think this has gone too far? I leaned into the mic. My son's name and social security number were used to open fraudulent credit accounts. He's 9 years old. You tell me, how far is too far? There was silence. And for the first time since this all began, I watched the smugness drain from my father's face. Not because of what I said, but because he realized I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't mad. I was methodical. Their lawyer tried to spin it. Said it was a misunderstanding. Said Max's information must have been used accidentally. Said maybe it was a clerical error. We presented the paperwork, the timestamps, the bank's investigation report. Even the notary who verified Emily's forged withdrawal request from Max's college fund testified. And then we played the video from the birthday party. I told the court to watch Max's face. Watch how it changes. Watch how he smiles. Watch how it dies. That was the moment everything shifted. I saw the jurors' faces change. Not because of fraud. Not because of the paperwork. Because of the rock. That stupid rock in a box. Because there was nothing more human, more raw, than watching a kid's heart break in real time. The defense attorney asked for a recess. Denied. We weren't done. Back at home, I could feel Max watching me differently. Not like a kid looks at a parent because they're tall or strong. This was different. He watched me like someone who felt safe, who knew, finally, that I had his back. After the first hearing, we got into the car and Max buckled himself in quietly. Then he looked at me and said, "They lied to you for a long time, huh?" I nodded. He blinked at the window. "But you're not letting them do it anymore." "No," I said. "I'm not." He leaned back in the seat and sighed like an old man. "I'm glad you're my dad." And that made everything worth it. About a week after the hearing, the media caught wind of it. Local paper, front page, grandfather accused of identity theft against grandson. Right beneath it, family trust misused by therapist daughter. They didn't name Max, thank God, but they printed everything else. The fraudulent accounts, the forged signature. The birthday party video even made it into an online segment. Blurred faces, but the headline said it all. Boy opens iPhone box, finds rock. Grandfather laughs. Father sues. The internet tore them apart. The article's comment section was a graveyard of their reputation. Hundreds of strangers calling them toxic, abusive, manipulative. People didn't care about their version of the story. The video said everything. That Monday, I got a call from Emily's office. Well, technically, her former office. The HR director was calling to verify the details of the investigation. "We're reviewing her employment status," the woman said carefully. "Given the nature of the financial misconduct and forged documents, we have no choice but to report it to the licensing board." I said nothing for a second. Then, "You should." She was gone by Friday. Her practice shut down its social media the same day. The website? Blank. Just an error page. By then, Emily had stopped texting. I think she finally realized I wasn't bluffing, that I wasn't going to forgive her because we shared blood, or because Mom was so stressed she can't eat. The next to fall was the house. I found out through my lawyer. "Your parents are behind on payments," she told me. "The co-signing you revoked? They can't refinance. They're at risk of losing it." I didn't smile. I didn't feel victorious. I felt nothing, and that scared me a little. How numb I was to all of it, until the call came. I almost didn't answer when I saw Mom on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before I finally picked up. "Daniel," she said, voice hoarse. "Please. Your father's not well. He hasn't been well for years," I replied. "He can't sleep. He's not eating. You'll survive. You're ruining our lives," she snapped, just for a second slipping back into the old version of herself. Then she softened again. "Honey, don't do this. This isn't who you are." That's where she was wrong. This was who I was. The man who showed up, who paid the bills, who gave them chance after chance to act like family, and who finally got tired of being everyone's punching bag. "You should have thought about that before you laughed at Max," I said. "Before you stole from him. Before you sat there in that kitchen and did nothing." She was quiet. "Is this really the legacy you want to leave?" she asked. I didn't hesitate. "No. That's why I'm ending yours." Click. A few days later, Max came home from school with a flyer in his backpack. It was for a school project, Family Tree Week. He handed it to me nervously. "Do I have to put Grandpa and Grandma on it?" he asked. My heart twisted. "No," I said, kneeling down beside him. "You can put anyone you want." He nodded slowly. "Can I just put you?" I swallowed hard and smiled. "You can. Yeah, you absolutely can." That night, he drew the tree himself. A big one, colorful, with my name in bold at the top and his right under it. No one else, just the 2 of us. He looked up from the kitchen table and said, "Our family is small, but it's strong." And in that moment, I knew. The court could take months. The media might move on. My parents could sell the house and Emily could disappear. None of that mattered, because in my house, around my kitchen table, the next generation was watching. And this time, he wasn't going to grow up thinking cruelty was tradition. He was going to grow up knowing that love, real love, never came with a punchline. The trial concluded mid-July. Civil court, 3 full days of testimony, evidence, and watching my father squirm behind a defense table while his lawyer tried to spin fraud into a misunderstanding. It didn't work. The judge ruled in our favor. The verdict was swift and public. Damages awarded. Accounts frozen. Restitution ordered. Max's name was to be cleared with all 3 credit bureaus. Emily was instructed to pay back every penny she took from his college fund. My father was charged with willful identity misuse and banned from managing any financial accounts not in his name. But that wasn't the moment that stuck with me. It was what happened after. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Microphones hovered in front of my face. One woman asked, "Do you think justice was served?" I looked straight at her lens and said, "Ask my son. He's the one who got the rock." That clip made the rounds. Viral within 24 hours. Memes, articles, even a podcast dissecting the case. The Rock in the Box episode hit #1 on Apple Podcasts that week. Suddenly, I was the guy who stood up to his toxic family, but I didn't feel powerful. I just felt tired. 2 days later, I took Max to the park. No phones, no noise, just the 2 of us and some sun. And a lunch I barely had time to pack. He was quiet for a while, watching other kids play on the swings. "Dad," he said, without looking at me. "Yeah, buddy. Why did they do it?" I knew what he meant. All of it. The rock, the lies, The money. I don't know, I said. I used to think it was about control, or pride, or just not knowing how to love someone without hurting them. He looked at me then, eyes squinting in the sun. Do you think they're sorry now? I shook my head. I don't think they're capable of being sorry, not in the way that matters. He thought about that for a second. Then he nodded. I'm glad we left. Me too. That night, after Max went to bed, I stood in my garage staring at an old box of photo albums. Stuff from when I was a kid. Pictures of me with my sister, with dad. Vacations. Birthdays. All smiles, all lies. I threw it all in the bin. It didn't even hurt. A week later, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from my father. I stood at the counter staring at it for a long time before I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting. No signature. Just one sentence. You burned down this family over a joke. I laughed. I actually laughed, because even in writing, he didn't get it. I didn't burn anything down. I turned on the lights. I set boundaries. I told the truth. And if that was enough to collapse everything they built, then maybe it wasn't a family to begin with. That Friday, Max and I drove out to the coast. Just the two of us. No drama. No noise. Just sand, sky, and a long stretch of time where no one needed anything from us. At one point, he looked up from the water and said, "Next birthday, can we do cake in the morning?" I smiled. Sure, buddy. We'll do cake for breakfast. And we did. Chocolate, with peanut butter frosting. No rocks in sight. Just the two of us. Strong, quiet, and finally free. It's been 8 months since the rock in the box. 8 months since I cut them off. My father, my sister, even my mother. 8 months since Max looked up at me and said he was glad I was his dad. And in those 8 months, everything changed. Max is thriving. School, friends, sleepovers. No more quiet, anxious glances toward the door when the phone rings. No more wondering if he said the wrong thing in front of Grandpa. The kid laughs louder now, sleeps better. He doesn't flinch when someone raises their voice. And me? I'm breathing again. I started therapy, took a leave from work, rebuilt the garage into a workspace where Max and I tinker on weekend projects. We built a skateboard ramp, then a treehouse. Last week, he asked if we could try building a soapbox derby car. Only if you promise to drive it. I joked. He grinned and said, only if you promise to push me. Yeah, I'll push you, kid. Always. One morning, not long ago, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. But I recognized the penmanship right away. My mother. Inside was a 3-page letter, neatly folded, full of soft apologies and sharp justifications. We never meant to hurt you. Your father was raised a certain way. Emily's going through so much. She never said, we were wrong. She said, it's time to move on. At the bottom, in a smaller script, she wrote, Max deserves to know his family. I folded the letter once, then again, and tossed it into the fireplace. Max knows his family. He sees it every morning when he comes down for breakfast and finds me already at the table, packing his lunch. He sees it when I show up to every parent-teacher night, every soccer game, every sleepover pickup. He sees it when I listen, when I apologize, when I laugh at his dumb knock-knock jokes like they're the greatest comedy of our time. He doesn't need a grandfather who thinks cruelty is character. He doesn't need an aunt who steals from his future while smiling to his face. He needs safety and love and someone who shows up. So I show up. Every time. We never heard from Emily again. Her husband divorced her quietly, took custody of their daughter, moved to Oregon. I sent him a message once, just a short one. Thanks for standing up when it counted. He replied, took me too long, but I got there. Dad, he lost the house, sold it off in pieces. First the car, then the furniture, then finally the property itself. Last I heard, he moved into a condo across town, alone. No family pictures on the wall, just him and whatever pride he managed to salvage from the wreckage. He tried to call me once, a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Dan, he said, you proved your point. Happy now? You broke everything. I deleted it. I didn't break anything. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. This morning, Max and I walked to the farmer's market. We do it every Saturday now. It's our thing. He gets fresh apple cider. I get fresh air. We were halfway through the stands when he suddenly stopped and tugged at my sleeve. Dad? Yeah. He looked serious for a second, like he'd been thinking about it for a while. If you hadn't said anything that night, at Grandpa's, would he still be laughing? I crouched down in front of him. Probably. He nodded slowly. So you saying something that stopped it? It didn't stop him from being who he is, I said. But it stopped us from pretending we had to accept it. He thought about that, then smiled. Cool. We bought extra cider that day. And when we got home, we sat on the back steps, legs dangling over the edge, sipping from our cups like it was the best drink in the world. No noise. No tension. No rocks and boxes. Just peace. And a boy who knew, without a doubt, that his father would always choose him. Every time. It's been over a year now. A year since the iPhone box. A year since the trial. A year since I stood in front of my family and told them I was done pretending. Sometimes I still expect the phone to ring. Some late-night crisis. Another, we didn't mean it like that. Another thin excuse laced with guilt. But they don't call anymore. Not since I blocked them. Not since I chose silence over obligation. And I haven't looked back. I got a letter from the state attorney's office 2 months ago. Formal language, dry tone. My father had accepted a plea deal. Fraud, identity misuse, financial misconduct involving a minor. No jail time. He's too old, too connected, but plenty of fines, restrictions, and a black mark that'll never go away. I didn't celebrate. I just folded the letter and filed it away. Justice isn't always about loud moments. Sometimes it's just about closure, quiet and complete. Emily's therapist license was suspended. She tried to appeal, failed. She moved out of state after that. No goodbye, no apology, fine by me. Last week, Max had a school project, something about real-life heroes. He told me about it one night while we were washing dishes, his little hands scrubbing a plate while I rinsed. They said we could write about anyone, he said, like firefighters or presidents or whatever. Cool, I said, drying a fork. Who'd you pick? He hesitated, then looked up at me with a small shrug. I picked you. I froze, mid-dry. Me? Yeah, he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. You told the truth even when nobody else wanted to. You protected me. That's what heroes do, right? I swallowed hard, nodded. Yeah, that's what they do. He went back to scrubbing like he hadn't just turned my entire chest inside out. Later that night, after he'd gone to bed, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing for a long time. It wasn't pride I felt. Not really. It was something deeper, something steadier. I had rewritten our family tree, not on paper, in real time, brick by brick. Action by action, cutting out rot and planting something real. That same week, I got a text from a number I hadn't seen in a long time. Emily, I heard about Max's award. He's lucky to have you. Just wanted to say that. I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. Some things don't need revenge. They just need distance. Max's birthday came around again. 10 years old. Double digits. This time, no big parties. No extended family. No wine glasses. Just me, him, a couple of friends, in the backyard. I grilled burgers. He requested an ice cream cake shaped like a spaceship. We built a bonfire and roasted marshmallows. At the end of the night, his best friend's mom pulled me aside and said, "Your kid? He's solid. Like, emotionally. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. I believed I was doing something right. That night, after the guests were gone and the wrappers were cleaned up, Max climbed into bed, his hair still smelling like smoke from the fire pit. He pulled the blanket to his chin, then looked at me. Dad? Yeah, but do you think they ever miss us? I paused. Maybe. Do you miss them? I thought about that one. I miss the version of them I hoped they'd be. He nodded like he understood. Me too, he said. I leaned down, kissed his forehead. Sleep tight, birthday boy. As I turned off the light, he whispered one last thing. I don't need anyone else. Just you. I stood in the hallway for a long time after that, because I knew what he meant, and I felt the same way. We weren't missing anything. We weren't broken. We were just free. And finally, that was enough. Fall came quietly. The trees in our neighborhood shifted into orange and gold without much fuss. And Max started 5th grade with a new backpack and the same sneakers he refused to replace. They're broken in, he insisted. I didn't argue. Pick your battles. The old life, the one filled with birthday parties I wasn't invited to, whispered family votes, and fake apologies, felt distant now. Like someone else's story, when I used to tell myself to feel included. Now I was just a dad. A real one. The kind who makes breakfast too early, folds laundry wrong, and still gets the tightest hugs at the school gate. One afternoon, Max came home clutching a permission slip. Field trip, he said, waving the paper like a golden ticket. They're taking us to the Science Museum in Springfield. Can you chaperone? I looked at the date. A Friday. I had a meeting scheduled that day with a new client. A big one. Potentially long-term. The kind of meeting you normally don't skip. Sure, I said without even thinking. I'll move stuff around. He grinned. Cool. I told him you'd say yes. And just like that, my heart expanded by about 3 miles. Friday came. I wore my best dad jeans and a hoodie that didn't have any holes in it. We walked through the museum side by side. Max telling me everything he already knew about black holes and volcanic ash like he was the one giving the tour. During lunch, one of the other kids asked, "Is that your real dad?" Max blinked. "Yeah," he said, like the question made no sense. Obviously, the boy shrugged. "Just wondering. Mine lives in Florida." Max didn't even look at me when he said it, but I felt it anyway. The quiet weight of his certainty. Yeah, obviously. That night, he fell asleep on the couch halfway through a documentary about underwater caves. I turned off the TV and covered him with a blanket. I sat next to him for a while, watching him breathe, remembering what it used to feel like, holding my own breath in rooms where everyone looked like me but acted like strangers. The next morning, I got a letter in the mail, certified again. I almost didn't open it. I figured it was another leftover spark from the ashes of that side of the family. It was from the bank, a notice of final account closure. The trust Emily had dipped into? Officially dissolved. Every cent returned. Legal restrictions placed. My name removed from any co-ownership tied to Dad's old accounts. Clean slate. I sat at the table and stared at it for a while. Not because it made me angry, but because it was over. Really over. Max wandered in a few minutes later, rubbing his eyes. "What's that?" he asked, yawning. "Just paperwork," I said, folding it in half. He poured cereal into his bowl like he was defusing a bomb. Half of it missed. I didn't care. "Hey," I said as he sat down. "You good?" He nodded mid-chew. "Why?" "No reason. Just wondering. He looked at me, eyebrows raised. You're being weird. Probably. He grinned. You always say that when you're feeling stuff. I laughed. Yeah, well, maybe I'm allowed to feel stuff. He shrugged, then kept eating. You're allowed. Just don't cry into the milk. That's gross. Later that day, we went hiking. Just a short trail. Nothing fancy. Max kept picking up sticks and pretending they were swords. He handed me one. Come on, he said. I know you want to. So I did. We fenced through the trees, two warriors in sneakers, laughing like we had nothing to prove. When we got to the top of the hill, we stopped to catch our breath. The sun was low, stretching shadows across the leaves. Max looked out over the valley, quiet. Do you think we'll always be like this? I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. This boy who used to hide behind me when the room got loud. This boy who had once opened a box expecting magic and found a rock. I hope so, I said. He nodded. Me too. And for once, I didn't worry about what came next, because we'd already made it through the worst, and we were still standing. Winter came in early that year, sharp and gray. Frost clung to the windows most mornings, and Max started wearing the beanie I'd bought him last Christmas, the one he used to call too itchy. Now he wore it every day like armor. I just finished shoveling the driveway when the knock came. 3 slow taps. Not urgent, not timid, just familiar. I opened the door, and there he was. My father. His face had thinned out, eyes a little sunken, coat too big for his frame. He looked older than I remembered, and not in the natural way. More like someone who'd been weathered by a storm he caused, but never thought he'd have to stand in. Can I come in? He asked. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Why? He sighed. I'm not here to fight. That's good, I said. Because you wouldn't win. He smirked like he used to, but it was hollow. I thought maybe we could talk. I didn't move. Talk about what? He looked past me into the house. I followed his eyes, knowing what he was searching for. He's not home, I said. He's at school. There was a beat of silence. Then he asked, is he okay? You mean after you used his name to commit fraud? Or after you gave him a rock and told him he wasn't good enough? He swallowed. Yeah, after that. I didn't say anything. He nodded slowly. Fair. We stood like that for a while. 2 men on opposite sides of a line that had once been blood. I lost everything, he finally said. The house. The savings. Your sister won't even return my calls. That's between you and her. I know, he said, but I thought maybe you could understand what I was trying to do. I laughed, cold and short. You were trying to humiliate a kid. He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled something out of his coat pocket and held it up. It was the iPhone box, the same one from that night. I stared at it. I kept it, he said, almost embarrassed. I don't know why. Because it was your moment, I said. Your final performance. He looked down at the box, then back at me. I came to say I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. For what? The fraud? The money? The way you treated me growing up? The way you treated Max? You're gonna have to be more specific. He opened the box and showed me what was inside. A letter, folded in half. He handed it to me. I didn't take it. I don't need this, I said. And Max sure as hell doesn't. It's for both of you, he said. You don't have to read it now, but if you ever want to. I stared at him for a moment. Then I reached out and took the box. He looked relieved, like that tiny exchange somehow meant everything. I don't expect forgiveness, he added. I just wanted you to know I regret it. I believe you regret the consequences, I said. Not sure you regret what led to them. He looked down. Maybe. I stepped back, ready to shut the door. But then I said, you should go. It's cold. He nodded. Take care of him. I always have. And with that, I closed the door. I didn't open the box right away. I left it on the entryway bench, next to Max's backpack. When he came home that afternoon, he spotted it immediately. He froze. That's the box. Yeah, I said. He dropped it off. He didn't ask what was inside. He just walked over, picked it up, opened it, and saw the letter. Then he looked at me. Do I have to read it? No, I said. You never have to read anything that came from someone who didn't see your worth the first time. He thought about that, then nodded. He held the box in his hands for a few more seconds. Then he walked to the trash can and dropped it in. It made a soft thud against the plastic liner. We didn't talk about it again. Instead, we ordered pizza and watched a movie. He fell asleep halfway through, legs sprawled across my lap, fingers still sticky from pepperoni grease. I didn't move. I just sat there and let the weight of him settle. In the darkness of the living room, with the hum of the credits rolling, I realized something. Closure doesn't always come with a door slam or a verdict. Sometimes it comes with a kid tossing out a box full of history and never looking back. And that's enough for me. Spring rolled and slow. The kind that makes everything feel like it's starting over. The air was softer. The mornings brighter. Max and I had fallen into a rhythm. Weekday breakfasts, Friday night grocery runs, Saturday hikes with peanut butter sandwiches wrapped in wax paper like we were going somewhere far. We didn't talk about my father anymore. Not because we avoided it, but because there was nothing left to say. Then one afternoon, Max came home with an envelope in his hand. Got picked for the essay contest, he said casually, dropping his backpack by the front door. We have to read it out loud next week. At school. I raised an eyebrow. You mean, in front of everyone? Yup, he said, flopping onto the couch like it was nothing. I already wrote it. That surprised me. Max didn't love writing. He liked building things. Duct tape and cardboard projects, stick forts and zip ties. But essays? Not really his thing. Can I see it? He dug into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Sure, but you're not allowed to cry. I laughed. No promises. He grinned, then went off to the kitchen for a snack. I unfolded the page. The title stopped me cold. What makes a dad? I read it slowly. A dad isn't just someone who's around. A dad isn't just a name. A dad is who shows up when it's hard, who listens even when he's tired, who doesn't laugh when you cry. My dad doesn't wear a tie. He doesn't work in a tall building. He doesn't sit quietly when someone hurts me. My dad once took a whole room of grown-ups and told them they were wrong. Not because he wanted to fight, but because I needed someone to stand up. My dad builds things with me. He knows how to use power tools and how to tell when I'm faking a stomachache. He makes pancakes on Sundays and never burns them. My real dad is the one who chose me. That's what makes a dad. Not the name, not the blood, just the love. I had to stop halfway through the second paragraph. Not because I didn't want to cry, because I already was. He'd written all that. Alone. No help. No edits. Just him. I wiped my face with the back of my hand and stood there, holding the letter like it was something fragile. He walked back in with a sleeve of crackers. You finished? Yeah, I said, voice tight. He looked up. Did you cry? I nodded. A little. He smiled and flopped onto the couch again. Are you nervous about reading it out loud? I asked. He shrugged. Not really. I mean, they're just people. He paused, then added. Besides, it's true. I'm not gonna lie just to make it easier. And there it was, the echo of everything I'd fought for. Not in court, not in letters, not in arguments, but in him. The next Thursday, I sat in the school auditorium surrounded by parents in stiff jackets and worn-out smiles. They called Max's name near the end. He walked up to the microphone with a paper in his hand and a steady step. He cleared his throat once. Then he read it, word for word. No stumbles, no nerves, just a boy telling the truth. When he finished, the room was silent, not because they didn't understand it, because they did. Then the applause started. I didn't clap. I couldn't. I just sat there, hands in my lap, heart too full to move. Afterward, when we walked out into the sun, he looked up at me. You okay? I've never been better, I said, and I meant it. No courtroom, no apology, no verdict ever gave me what that moment did. Because in that small school auditorium, my son stood on a stage and rewrote everything, not just our story, but his own. And he made sure everyone knew exactly who his father was.